March is National Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and joining us now, Dr. Lozzi, to talk all about it and raise some awareness. Thanks so much for joining us at this hour.
The wind blew me in.
Oh my goodness, it's so bad. I'm so glad you made it and didn't cancel on me. All right, so can you talk to us about colorectal cancer? Of course, I know it is one of the leading causes of death in men and women.
Number 4. So it is the 4th leading cause of cancer in men and women. And what that shows us is that there's not a gender disparity. A lot of the things we talk about, it's more in men, it's more in women. This does not have that issue. You can see some of the rates. Unfortunately, about 50,000 people a year will unfortunately die from colorectal cancer.
Well, over the years, has there been an increase in diagnosis? If so, what is the age range?
You know, what's really interesting is that over the last 15 to 20 years specifically, there's been an increase in younger people getting colorectal cancer. It's not really clear why that's happening, but there's been about a 15% increase.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, I know new data, a survey found that adults in the U.S. Rather do household tasks than get screened. What do you make of that?
So this kind of cracks me up, but I get it, right? Nobody wants to do what is required to do for screening of colorectal cancer, which is get a colonoscopy. And so what we're seeing is that there's an increase in young people getting this. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of misconceptions. And a lot of people say, you know what, they just want to do other things, right? They really don't want to go to the doctor. Of all the things they can do for screening, it's not a colonoscopy that they want to go do.
But it's about your health.
It should be about your health, but I mean, we talk about this all the time, right?
Especially if younger people are getting diagnosed early on.
Absolutely. And it's one of the cancers that does have a preventative measure so that you don't have to get the cancer along mammograms and pap smears. These are preventative measures so that you don't have to get the cancer and deal with the diagnosis and stigma of having a cancer.
Well, what are some of the signs and symptoms?
Well, there's a lot of different things. So abdominal pain, blood in stool is always an immediate red flag that you should go talk to your physician about. Some people have a change in the consistency of their stools. It can be tarry or stringy. Again, if you have those things consistently, maybe that's just how your bowel movements and your bowel prep is. If there's a change in your bowel movements, you always want to consult and talk to your clinician and say, hey, something's weird. This isn't normal. It's something that's changed for me, especially if you meet the age range for the screenings.
Well, explain the cancer screening guidelines.
Yeah, so this is, the way I look at this is specifically because we're finding more and more people that are early onset, young onset colorectal cancer. That's why they actually dropped the number or the age of screening. So it's now 45. So you should get screened. There's a host of different ways to get screened we'll talk about in a bit. And once you get screened, it's either every 5 years, every 10 years, it could be every year depending on which modality you're using for screening.
Well, what are screening options and when should people begin screening?
So the number one or the recommended sort of gold standard way is a colonoscopy. And you have a prep, it's not great, it's kind of uncomfortable, but your GI or your GI doctor will look into your rectum, your colon, and look for polyps, and that's really the best way right now. There's something called a flexible sigmoidoscopy, which looks at less part of your bowel, but it's every 5 years, not every 10 years, also need a prep. And for those who don't want to do that, there's something called a fit test or a Cologuard. I think the real sort of take home here is when you hit that 45, or if you have a family history of colorectal cancer, you need to get it at 40, talk to your clinician and get one of these things. I get it. A colonoscopy is not comfortable. The prep kind of sucks. I've done it because I'm old enough now. But you can do a fit test, which is every year, or a Cologuard, which is every 3 years.
Okay. There will be a health fair coming up that people really should take advantage of.
This is super timely because it is tomorrow. It's one of the reasons I am wearing blue. You forgot your blue today.
I did.
But at the Kelly Center for Hunger Relief, tomorrow, not tomorrow, but on March 27th, there will be a health fair specifically looking and talking about colorectal cancer. There's actually a giant colon that you can walk through. I think it's a little bit too small for my height, but if you're shorter than I am, hey, knock yourself out.
Got to check that out. And we also have some helpful resources to
Yeah, we've
provide
got a
our
bunch
viewers.
of resources, whether it's diagnostic outpatients, whether it's GI or gastroenterologists in the community. The long and short of it is, yes, it's not fun, but this is one of the most preventable cancers out there. Get tested, get screened when you should get screened.
Dr. Lozzi, thank you for your time today. Please get home safe. It is terrible out there. Let's send things over to Doppler.